All right, welcome. We're going deep tonight. We are pulling back the curtain on one of the most familiar, most beloved Jewish rituals, Havdalah, to show you the powerful and, frankly, kind of dangerous mystical mechanics that are firing away just beneath the surface. You know, this isn't just about saying goodbye to Shabbat. This is about managing a fundamental shift in the very fabric of reality itself. So the whole secret, the master key to this entire operation, is handed to us right here in this one cryptic line from the Zohar. Separation is indeed on the left. Now, what does that even mean? Well, in the architecture of the cosmos, the left side isn't a direction like left or right. It's a force. It's the cosmic principle of definition, of boundaries, of judgment, and of structure. And Havdalah, when you get right down to it, is the ultimate act of separation.
To really get this, you have to feel it. So picture it. The sun has finally set on Shabbat. That warm, expansive golden glow, that's the very presence of an elevated spiritual reality. And it starts to recede from the world. It's like this tide, this ocean of infinite mercy. It's just pulling back from the shore of our consciousness.
And as that warmth pulls away, something else comes down. It's a totally different energy. It's sharp, it's cool, it's precise. Imagine a blue-edged current, a force with this immense contracting power. That's the force of the left side. And its whole job is to carve. It's actively redrawing the boundaries that kind of got blurred during Shabbat. It's separating light from dark, the holy from the mundane, Israel from the nations, Shabbat from the 6 days of work.
And right there, on that boundary, in that exact moment of transition, there's a vulnerability. The shadows are stirring, because the spiritual guards are changing shifts. The entire operating system of reality is shifting its state. And look, anyone who works in tech will tell you a system is never more vulnerable than when it's rebooting. This is the critical moment the Havdalah ceremony is designed to help us navigate.
Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll start by defining this whole idea of a divided world. Then we're going to do a real deep dive into the left side itself. We'll check out other cosmic blueprints that use this same exact principle. Then we'll explore the very real danger of what happens when those walls come down. We'll find the solution on the path of balance. And finally, we'll see how the Havdalah ritual is basically our user manual for this weekly system reboot.
All right, first things first. Before we can even talk about the tool, we got to understand the job it's built for. And that job is to create and manage separation, which, it turns out, is a fundamental principle for having a structured reality in the first place. So the word Havdalah, it literally just means separation, distinction. It's the act of drawing a line in the sand, of creating a boundary between two completely different states of being. And yeah, the most famous one, of course, is between the Kodesh, the sacred, elevated reality of Shabbat, and the whole, the mundane, get-back-to-work reality of the weekday. But this is just one example of a law that applies everywhere.
Okay, so if separation is the what, what's the how? What's the cosmic engine that's actually driving it? This brings us right back to that foundational line from the Zohar. It's time to unpack the hidden power source driving this entire process, the cosmic left side.
So this slide, this is huge. It lays out the two fundamental opposing, but also complementary forces that build, well, everything. On the right, you've got Chesed. Think of it as unbounded giving, pure expansion, raw light, limitless mercy. It's pure energy with no form. Then on the left, you have its total opposite, Gevurah. That's strength, contraction, judgment, and the creation of boundaries. Gevurah is the force that takes all that infinite, formless light from Chesed and contains it, gives it a definition, and creates a vessel to hold it. Without the left side, the right side is just this undifferentiated, meaningless flood of energy.
So let's put a pin in this. What is Gevurah, also called din or judgment? It's the cosmic force that carves order out of chaos. It's the force that says, nope, this is this and that is that. It creates the rules, the laws of physics, the very idea of form and structure. And listen, it's not evil. It's absolutely essential. Without Gevurah, there's no universe. There's just a singular, undifferentiated oneness. It is the very principle of distinction that allows a world of many different things to even exist. Okay, to make this feel real, let's try a tech analogy. Think of reality like an operating system. The left side, Gevurah, it works like a system firewall. During the week, the firewall's got its normal rules. But as Shabbat gets closer, a whole new rule set gets loaded. The left side establishes Shabbat as a protected, elevated, totally secure environment. It then enforces the boundaries of this sacred network, and it's actively blocking lower-level influences, you could call them spiritual malware, from getting access. And then comes Havdalah. This is the moment the system admin, and that's you, consciously changes the firewall's permissions, ending that elevated state and reopening the whole system to all the normal processes and potential threats of the weekday.
So now that we get the engine, let's see where else this thing is used. This principle of left-side separation isn't just a weekly thing. It's basically a universal blueprint, hardwired into the cosmos on every single level of existence.
You see this in sources like Sefer Kenat Hashem Tzevoot. The very first acts of creation were all about separation, and they were driven by these forces. I mean, think about the most basic elements, fire and water. They're perfect stand-ins for this. Fire, which is harsh, consuming, defining, that corresponds to din on the left. Water, which is flowing, giving, expansive, that corresponds to chesed on the right. It's only by separating and then balancing these two primal forces that you can get the stable building blocks of physical reality.
And if we go up the ladder, we see the same blueprint in the very architecture of the spiritual cosmos. Kabbalists talk about 4 worlds, or levels of reality, often called A, B, I, Y, A. And these aren't just different places, they're different dimensions, and each one has a different ratio of divine light to concealment. In the highest world, Atzilut, there's no negativity at all. But as you come down through the other worlds, Bria, Yetzirah, and our world, Asiya, these other forces get more and more of a foothold. And the boundaries that define and maintain the integrity of these worlds, that's all a function of Gevurah.
And that brings us right back around to time, and to Shabbat. So what's really going on during Shabbat? Well, according to sources like Shar HaKavanot, the lower worlds literally ascend spiritually. The whole vibrational state of our world, Asiya, elevates to match the level of the world above it, Yetzirah, and so on, all the way up the chain. This mass ascension creates a kind of vacuum, a buffer zone, underneath the feet of holiness. This is the mystical secret of the Chum Shabbat, the Shabbat boundary. It's not just some line on a map. It's a literal gap in reality that separates the entire domain of the holy from the grasp of those external forces.
Okay, so think about it. If separation makes this safe zone, that leads to a really dramatic question. What happens when it's over, when that holy elevation pulls back and the walls come tumbling down?
First off, we need to meet the bad guys in this story. They're called the klipot, or chitzonim, which literally means husks or external ones. And look, we're not talking about little red guys with pitchforks. These are metaphysical forces of chaos, concealment, and spiritual entropy. They're the shells that were left over from a primordial cosmic cataclysm, the breaking of the vessels. As Sefer Kesed LaAvraham puts it, they're the forces that just rush in to fill that empty space when the sapphire palace of holiness closes up and its light pulls back.
Okay, here's the key mechanic you have to get. Nature, whether it's physical or spiritual, cannot stand a vacuum. At the end of Shabbat, 2 things pull back. The worlds descend back to where they normally are, and we personally lose the neshama yetira, that extra soul or elevated consciousness that we get for Shabbat. This double withdrawal creates a metaphysical void, a low-pressure system. And it's just like a storm front rolling in. The kitzonim are powerfully drawn to fill this empty space. This is the moment of maximum spiritual vulnerability.
This is just a perfect way to picture the state change. Let's use a video game analogy. Shabbat is like the safe zone, the main city. Your stats are buffed, that's the extra soul, there are no hostile mobs, the klipot can't even get into this protected server, but the moment Havdalah begins, you're teleported out into the open world, and boom, PvP is enabled. Your buffs are gone, the threat level spikes, and as the Zohar says, the armies of the weekday come back to their posts ready for random encounters. You've gone from a totally protected state to a state of active struggle.
So with all this conflict, all this risk, you have to wonder, how does anything even work? How can we have both the structure of the left and the expansive life of the right without them just tearing each other apart? And that brings us to the ultimate solution, the tikkun, the rectification, found on the path of balance.
The Perush HaSulam actually paints this incredible picture of the problem. When you just leave them to their own devices, the 2 sides are basically in a state of constant war. The right pillar wants to flood the world with unbounded chesed, but without any structure from the left, this mercy is like a body with no head. It has no direction. It's basically useless. Meanwhile, the left pillar wants to dominate with pure, structured wisdom contained by strict judgment, but without the light of chesed from the right. That wisdom can't shine, it just stays trapped in darkness. If you don't check them, they just cancel each other out.
So, how do you fix this? How do you solve this cosmic war? Well, the key to the entire system is the emergence of a third principle, the middle pillar, the pillar of rashemim, or compassion. This force is the ultimate mediator. It takes the harsh, absolute judgment of the left and it softens it, mitigates its severity. It takes the unbounded mercy of the right and gives it structure and purpose. It basically forces the two warring sides to unite, to clothe each other, creating the stable, balanced synthesis where the light finally has a vessel and the vessel is filled with light. This is the state of balance.
And that, all of that, brings this massive cosmic engineering, all these grand principles, right back down to our kitchen table, to the cup of wine and the candle and the spices. The Havdalah ritual is our personal, tangible way of participating in this cosmic balancing act. It is our weekly system reboot.
All right, let's break down the toolkit. Every single element of this ceremony is a precision instrument for managing this state change. The wine represents the flow between the two states. We're literally blessing the boundary line itself. The spices, as the Kabbalists teach, are there to revive our soul, to buffer us from the shock of losing that neshama yatira. The braided candle is our acknowledgement of the return of mundane creation, the fire of the left side that governs the world of work. And finally, the blessing itself, Hamavdil, the one who separates. It's the voice command. It's the final enter key that executes the program, safely closing the sacred space and rebooting us into the reality of the new week.
So you see, Havdalah isn't just an end to something beautiful. It is a controlled, conscious reboot of our personal reality. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If this is the cosmic model for transitioning between the holy and the mundane, how can we use this same exact blueprint to manage all the other transitions and separations in our own lives? Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.